I hope everybody can see the new shirt. Be sure to get them ordered. That way when you go in the bee club, you got people saying, oh, you got my bees, so you got your orders started in. You're walking billboards.
All right, Don, we're recording. It's all you.
Okay. The Fat Bee Man group, I get a lot of people sounding off all the time and running things by me and that. The biggest thing that I'm hearing right now is people are saying about plywood, you can't do this, you can't do that. In my videos, there's 3 things I teach the beekeepers. The 3 people out there in the bee yard put you out of business is that wouldn't, the couldn't, and the can't. So if you got plywood, paint it a few times, it'll last. I mean, a lot of us want to get into commercial beekeeping, and it takes some money. So, you know, if you keep the overhead down, then you can expand out, getting free materials from job sites, plywood, OSB, all of it works. The only thing that I don't like to use is treated plywood. I don't use that for beekeeping stuff. But plywood, if you make your nuke boxes out of that, and you could go get free paint at the dump. They have an area set up over there. You can go get all the paint you want. Put 3 coats, 2-3 coats on the edges of those boxes and the lids, the bottoms. I have some OSB out there I painted 2 coats on, and I run them over 5 years. And basically all they was shipping boxes. I made about 100 shipping boxes, and we run out of boxes, so we use some of them to make splits and put them in one of our out yards. We painted a couple coats of paint real quick on them, and I was surprised how long they last. Remember, you can either spend a lot of money. The biggest thing I keep hearing is, if you want to make $1 million, spend about 3 and you'll make it. Well, what I'm trying to do is teach you how to spend less and make more money. So you don't have to buy brand new equipment out there. And if you make all that stuff yourself, even frames, later on when you start getting busy, time is your worst enemy. So build your frames when you first start. Build your boxes. If they fall apart, get some more free wood. Once you start turning in a bunch of orders and stuff, you can start expanding out a lot more. So a lot of people come down here, take classes, and if you watch the videos that I got out, you can do commercial beekeeping, don't get me wrong. Joe can attest to that. I even told Joe before he come here, you already know how to do it. You're wasting your money coming. So if you just watch those videos, you want to take classes, you can polish yourself up just a little bit more on that. So what I want to do is, I'm going to have to go in and probably get knee replacements and stuff like that here next year. I'm going to try to find maybe 6 or 10 volunteers that want to come up and help run the bee yard, because I doubt if I'm going to be able to get out there and walk. And this last week, I've been having a terrible time. I went down to get my arthritis checked out, and I've got a dry cough. It's got my lungs. You know, you probably can hear me talking. My lungs is sore from coughing so darn much. If anybody else has got questions about things, let's get to that part of it here so we can get on before and then my internet is going off and on, so I hope I don't lose everybody tonight. We got a good full house here tonight.
Everyone's being shy.
No, don't be shy now.
Let's get those hands up. All right, Henry looks like he's got a question. Go ahead, Henry.
Yeah, hi everybody. What's the difference between a migratory top and a regular top? I know you use migratories.
No, basically we use the telescoping lids, which we've done it for years, and my son is building up yards, and we're trying to do more things more efficiently. And I'm starting to split around to some of the migratory lids. But even now, what I'm doing is taking Advantech and making them the same size as the box and drilling a hole in them. I'm saving a lot more time because we're not building hive top feeders. We're drilling a hole in the top and throwing a pail on it. So everything gets down to that money versus time. And by the time we build a hive top feeder, which are nice, They last a long time if you get them painted. But when you start doing volumes, I mean, we're talking a couple hundred splits a day. So when you're building boxes now, you can't keep everything going. You have to do what saves time and money. So we're not even making them fancy. Now for nukes that we sell that pick up, we're doing the Migratory, which is flush on the side. They're 22 inches long. They got a 3/4 board on the top and the bottom on each end. And we screw them on. It's just quicker to do it.
Yeah, but I know that. I see all your YouTubes and a lot of other people's YouTube, Joe May and such. But all the people at the big club use the telescoping lids.
Well, there's a good advantage to both. The telescoping lids, if you're using plywood, it helps hold them down flat. The migratory lids, basically, if you're going to move hives from one area to another, you're saving 3 inches between hives. So that's your main factor there. And then the next factor is time. How long does it take you to cut those extra pieces and staple them on? You know, there's people out there that they're naysayers. You can't do this, you can't do that. But they don't realize that while they're doing that naysaying, there's other people making a living. And if you can save a minute, 2 minutes per box, you can move on and make more boxes.
Yeah, yeah.
So
I didn't know if it was more weather resistant with the telescoping top, or
no, they're not more water resistant because even Advantech is water resistant. The only thing that's not real resistant is plywood. If you bought brand new plywood, 3/4 plywood, and you painted it and you set it out on a beehive, within 6 months, you could get warpage unless you have bricks or blocks on each end of it. Now, backyard beekeeping, if you got 6 hives, you can afford that time to pick those blocks up and set it on the plywood. But by the time you move those 2 blocks, if you're running a commercial yard, you could be running 25 lids. So that's what it breaks down to.
Okay.
See, I'm trying to teach you how to make money without going through all the aggravations.
Sure, sure.
I should do a video on how to lose money by buying all the gimmicks and gadgets everybody wants to sell you.
It wouldn't take long.
You know, I see it all the time. I've been doing this a long time. And when I go to a bee club and you talk to a new beekeeper, hell, I just spent $3,000, 3 hives, an extractor, and all the stuff and the bees to go with it, and I haven't got any honey. Well, you don't need a queen or an extractor. You can crush and strain. You'll get just as much honey, and you don't have to spend that money. The money that you spend on that extractor, you could be building your numbers up.
Yeah. One more about that on the entrances. I know Joe made Cris Crosses his entrances.
Cris Cross your entrance.
One's facing 180 degrees out from the next.
Oh, you mean opposite ends of the box?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we do 2 different styles. We do a 5-frame that's got a divider in it, which has got a hole in one end and a hole in the other end, opposite end, and that way it's it makes 2-frame nukes. And then when we get them strong, we pull the queen out of one side, pull the divider out, and drop an extra frame of honey in there, and we can sell it as a 5-frame box. We do the same thing on an 8-frame box. It's a thing where less equipment and more uses, double your amount of use.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is he'll take each box and do a 180 on the whole box.
You mean 2 separate boxes?
Yeah.
Well, see, what you're doing is using twice as much material. I'm using 1 box with a divider in the middle with opposing ends open.
Okay.
So, you know, that's basically what we're doing here.
All right.
And as far as building a bottom board on it, that takes more time. Put a piece of plywood on the bottom, and then you can snatch it off later if you don't want it. It's just, you have to figure quick to build this stuff up. Remember, you only got about 3 months to get yourself set up. And if you want to start turning out 200-300 nukes, you got to get your butt going now. You can build fancy stuff and don't have bees to put in it. Better to have stuff that looks rinky-dink and put bees in it.
Right. Right. Okay, thanks, Don.
Okay.
All right, next we have Bruce. Go ahead, Bruce.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Hey, I talked to LorraineOils.com this week, filled out their application. They sent me a really nice email, personal email back, and said, welcome to Lorraine Oils, and anything we can do to help. It was really, really nice personal email. So they're really gung-ho for beekeepers. They really like that. On that, pointing them all the one direction, the hives, and I understand the 5-frame. I really like the 5-frame where you can set it up with a bottom board where you can split and have one entrance in each direction. But other than that, putting them all in one direction seems to me a little bit easier to work with. And I even saw Joe's YouTubes. He's got geometrical design painted, or all different types of symbols painted in different colors. And I read somewhere else that bees go for the geometrical designs. They can relate to that, and it makes it easier. So, I mean, is it really beneficial to flip the hives back and forth down the row?
Well, if you're going to teach beekeeping like I'm doing here, it's best to run all your entrances in one way, and you can work the hives from behind. But if I'm working hives in an out yard, we have them opposite directions, just because we work in and out of the hive faster. Personally, I don't think the different designs on the front, all white hives with different designs, it might look pretty, but I think you get more drifting. I like total box, total color, or like a green box with a yellow lid. I think the bees distinguish it more. When you start putting 500-600 hives in one area, you got a mass amount of bees in the air all the time. So the least amount of fighting you have in there, the easier the bees are going to be to work.
Well, I got plenty of paint, plenty of colors, so I'll try both.
It's just
paint them different colors.
That's what I do now. I tried boxes years ago, all one color and white. I mean, you have to do what you like. I didn't see that it was very beneficial, other than if you got free paint, it seemed like I got a lot more return on my queens, less drifting on hot days.
I'm thinking in terms of 100, 200, or 300 hives in the yards. What's the most efficient way? Okay, thank you.
Okay.
All right, over to Greg. Go ahead, Greg.
Hey,
Hey.
I've been building my nukes out of Advantech.
Yeah.
I've noticed that 3/4 inch, of course, subfloor, but I've noticed there's some other brands such as Pinnacle and other store brands like at Lowe's. They're quite a bit cheaper. Are they that much less of a quality than Advantech?
Well, it's like a lot of things. It's got a name brand. The Advantech is a name brand. If you're in a pinch buying full sheets, I guess that's the way to go. But there's all across the United States, there's so much building going on now and remodeling and stuff. Picking up scraps work the best for me, because a full sheet working by yourself is hard to cut on a table saw. Where a half a sheet, a third of a sheet, a quarter of a sheet, end pieces, they seem to work the best for me. And you're going to take a full sheet and bust it up anyhow.
Yeah. Okay.
But the Advantech and the what they call zip board, or I think it's Kraft makes another one. It's a brown one. They're just offshoots of Advantech. Advantech was done to studies of no treating or nothing. You can put that underwater for a couple of years without it swelling. It just, we like it. It works good. It's a lot better than plywood. It's more stable.
Yeah. Okay, that's what I found so far, and I just wanted trying to cut costs.
Now, if you're building nukes, I see a lot of people posting pictures. Across the front should be 9 1/4. The side pieces should fit up against them. That means the end piece, which is 9 1/4, that's the piece that should be rabbited around 3 sides. And what I see people doing is button the side pieces up. That actually changes the inside dimension of your box. And it's a little harder for your frame rest. So that's just a little heads up there if you hadn't built a lot of them. And I have plans on my webpage. You can download them. They're very easy for you to follow. And most of them have cutting instructions, cut paper on them.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, nobody else has got their hand up. I'm gonna have to start calling on people. Oh, Henry again. Go ahead, Henry.
Hey, Don, talking
Hey.
about your plans, can you add I know you have one of them where you're showing how to cut a sheet of plywood or a sheet of wood.
Right, that's the layouts.
Yeah. Can you do that for the 5-frame and 8-frame also?
The guy that actually drew those up for me, he's not one of my students anymore. He moved out of town. So if I can get somebody who has little drafting skills, I'll have him do it. Or maybe he's smart enough to do that. He's pretty smart about doing a lot of things. It's a layout cut.
Okay, yeah. Thank you.
Okay.
Over to Dennis. Go ahead, Dennis.
Can you all hear me?
Yep.
I got a question, Don. Your 5-frame nuke, you're splitting in 2. And you say when it gets large enough, you pull the center divide up. You can I understand you're going to have to take one of the queens out of there. Would you have any problem with some of the workers killing the opposite queen? Or do they get along?
What I usually do is I descent them, and I usually take either a spray bottle with a little bit of vanilla extract in it, or a little bit of, an essence of oil, and I spray the frames.
Okay.
So they all
curious.
smell the same. Yeah.
Okay.
You can do it with liquid smoke too, but a lot of times I'm talking so fast that those little things sometimes slip my mind.
Well, I'm just curious because I'm going to try some of them.
Yeah, well, it's just less boxes and do more queens.
Right. That'd be all right with me. All right. Thank you.
Okay, over to Mark. Go ahead, Mark.
Hey, Don.
Hey.
I was just curious, the AI queen you got from Jason, you planning on selling any of those queens off of her, or are you just going to use her in your yard?
I will probably just be grafting myself. I'm not going to sell AI queens. I'll let that up to Jason do that. In fact, I'll probably have to buy more queens.
But when you make queens off of that queen, are you going to use those 2nd generation in your yard, or are you going to sell some?
Well, there'll be we're planning on doing between probably 200 to 500 or maybe 800 grafts a week here. And then we have another yard that my son's setting grafting up, and you probably do 1,000 down there a week. So we're probably going to ship some out, and some we're going to make nukes up with.
Right. Okay.
But if you need some either production queens or AI queens, get a hold of Jason. Let him know what you need. It's always good to bring a variation of stock in.
That's all I have.
Okay.
Okay, nobody else got their hands up again. Gonna have to start calling on people, I think. Ricky, do you want to talk about your spring coming up down there in Australia?
Yeah, no, it's actually summer now, so
Summer already, wow.
1st of December it turns summer here. So yeah, I've actually been damaged my arm. I had an operation on my arm, so I can only do beekeeping one-handed. So I've been doing lots of splits. So trying to not let the boxes get too big, otherwise I can't handle them at the moment. So, but yeah, I've been making one frame splits and 2-frame splits, and they all seem to be coming on pretty good. One thing I've noticed is that if I don't have enough nurse bees in the splits, I'm not putting any extra bees. I'm just like grabbing a frame out and putting it into another box with a honey frame. They don't seem to be able to sometimes they don't. If there's a queen cell on there, it doesn't hatch out, or they don't really make a queen very well. So I've had to either get queen cells or get mated queens. So, but each time I do it, I get more successful. So I gather that's just a new beekeeper.
It's basically trial and error is what it amounts to. But I seen a couple of your frames, and you putting starter strips in there, and you're not getting them drawn out totally. I think what's happening is you're not feeding the bees. Put sugar water on them when you get them to draw a new comb out. Shake you some extra bees in there, and they'll start drawing that comb out a little better.
Yeah, that one wasn't a split. That was one of my main hives that was just honey. So
if they're not hanging on those queen cells, then what's happening, you've got a temperature fluctuation and they're pulling off of the queen cells.
Yeah, I thought that might be something. I just might not have had enough bees in there, you know. But yeah, I seem to be, if I get some properly like commercial queen cells, you can just buy queen cells off the commercial guys here.
Right.
And they seem to work pretty well.
Once you get your numbers up, then you'll have plenty of bees to make splits with.
Oh yeah. Well, I've got like 11 hives now. I started in February, so, and obviously had winter. So coming out in springtime, I really had 3 hives. So I've got 11 now. So yeah, having fun.
You're learning. It's a learning process.
Looks like they're drawn out pretty good too.
Yeah, I noticed that. I thought it was a bit weird that they hadn't covered the whole frame in comb before they started sealing up the honey. But then we've had some really hot weather, like 100 degree and you're in Fahrenheit, 38, 39 degrees. We had for a couple of weeks last month, so that might have something to do with it. They just didn't have enough time to draw out the full frame before the honey got to a point where it had to be sealed.
Wow. Okay. Thank you for chiming in.
No worries.
Anybody else want to get a question in here? All right, Don, you might have to do a song and dance here.
Well, maybe Jason let us know how the situation's going up there. I see he's got a lot of boxes, so maybe he'll have opportunities for people to buy the bees, get their orders in and stuff, or maybe he's already booked it.
No, I haven't really started. The only orders I've started taking so far is nukes. Probably about half booked on nukes. But my queen orders won't open on the website, and I try to do everything, all the orders through the website, because I don't have anyone to do bookkeeping, and it tracks my bookkeeping, and it makes it easier for me to keep track of what I'm shipping and what I've sold. So those will open, those queen orders will open on January the 1st. The mating nukes that I've got setting everywhere that I've been painting, someone was asking about painting different colors. I do that on my mating nukes, and I've got 100 of these that I just brought in. These are 3-frame half mediums, but they're double mating nukes, and I always paint these different colors on each end. But so 100 of those will give me 200 more mating nukes to run next spring.
Are those plastic?
They're polystyrene. They're harder than like the styrofoam containers that you get at Walmart for drinks and stuff. They're harder than that, but they're still a type of styrofoam, but they're pretty dense.
What about feeding? How will you feed those?
They have a feeder in them. Let me grab one and I'll show you one that's one that I just haven't painted all of yet. Here's the inside.
Yeah. Those are the 6 1/4 cut in half.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. Medium, half frame mediums.
Right.
Feeder here, 3 frames here, 3 frames here. Queen excluder to keep them out, keep the queen out of the feeders.
Right.
So
Yeah, that's one problem we had in South Georgia. Now we used to run doubles, and we found that running singles we get better comeback. And what we're doing now, instead of having inside feeders, which slows you down trying to feed, is we're just drilling the lid and putting on a bottle. Usually a 20-ounce bottle lasts you a couple days on them when those mini nukes.
right, yes.
So it's when you first start, you're going to try different avenues to find out what's the most efficient way you can do it.
Well, whenever I start those, I ran several of those this year. I ran another 100 of those this year.
Yeah.
And I don't actually put a liquid feed in them to start them. I mix a dry sugar mix with a little bit of pollen and some other stuff in it, and I pack it in that feeder, and that way I can flip them over, load them from the bottom with my cup of bees,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and put the queen in, close them up, and I'm not dumping the sugar syrup out. So when I flip them back up, they go in, and because it's a dry feed, they're not robbed. They don't have as much of a tendency to get robbed out by the larger hives too.
How high are you running those off the ground? I'm asking because a lot of people are reluctant to ask questions and they're wanting to learn how to do it. So there's a lot of ways to do this.
I'm running them about waist high.
Yeah.
Basically, I took 4 of the sturdy, the more stronger T-posts like you get at Tractor Supply.
Right.
Put them in the ground, put a 2x4 along each side and stack them on the 2x4.
Yeah.
And then I strap them down because we get pretty heavy winds up here.
Well, see, when we run them, we was running waist high and we was running 201 yard and the deers will run into them and push them over with their antlers. So, that I bring stuff up like that. Other people might not think about stuff. Now,
We don't
right
have
here,
antlers like that.
in this yard here, I'm running a 12-inch block with a 2x4s with a 6-inch block. That way, a 10-inch block box will sit on it, and we run about 15 to a row.
I've got some smaller ones that are not the half frame mediums. They're like super minis, just little things.
Right.
And I can only run them. Joe's had better luck with those than I have, but I seem to only be able to run those in the spring. And after the flow's over, I don't have any luck with those.
Yeah, they're high maintenance.
Yeah. Those I actually just throw down a pallet and just set them around in a circle around the pallet. And I've had, in the spring, I'll have decent luck with them, but past the flow, I just don't have the time to keep them maintained.
Right. Well, see, a lot of people that's getting into it, they don't jump from working a job right into commercial beekeeping. They have to slowly get into it. That's where the 5-frame deeps work the best, because if they can't pull queens, they throw a medium super on it and run them as a miniature hive. When they get too strong, make 3 or 4 splits off of it.
Yep. So
there's many ways to skin the cat, and that's why we try to bring all that up, let people get different ideas.
I still work a full-time job. I'm fortunate enough that in the summers, I work in the school system, public school system. So in the summers, I can get off at noon or 2, and that still gives me till 8 or 9 in the evening to work bees. And in the wintertime, then I work my regular schedule. And in the evenings, now that I've finished all my classes and finished my degree, I've got time now through the winter to paint boxes and build frames and do some of the stuff I needed to do before, but had to hire out.
Yeah. Well, how are you feeding yours?
I've tried a lot of stuff.
That's why I'm asking. I want to hear what's going on.
I've tried a lot of stuff. I've open fed. I've fed in hive top feeders. I've tried some dry fondant on some of them. And the thing that I've found that makes them grow the fastest and produce the most bees throughout the summer has always been feeding right on the hive top.
Yeah. Well, one of our yards, my son-in-law is working. He's got a 4-wheeler. Now, Tractor Supply sells that sprayer system. It's about a 25-gallon sprayer. He's got a 50-foot air hose hooked to that. Now, he likes that. Now, we're doing the 1-ton truck with 300-gallon tote with 200-foot on the big yards. So I thought I'd bring that up, and maybe you not even thought of it. I don't know. You're probably going to try a lot of things.
I actually have one of the little sprayers like you were talking about, the 25 gallon. It's fast. I'm fast outgrowing it.
Well, yeah.
That's why I have to end up hiring a couple people in the summer to help me feed. Well, in the past couple summers, I've had relatives to help me, but they're getting old and knee problems and back problems.
Right. That's my problem right now.
So, you know, my dad and my uncle would come help feed and help. You know, they won't mess with them, but they'll feed them and they'll help. You know, feeding takes up a lot of time if you've got a lot of hives. So I've got 2 or 3 high school kids lined out for this spring. I had one last fall. Of course, he went back to school, but I've got some more lined out for the spring, and I'm just going to let them feed and do the, you know, weed eat, mow arounds, just the stuff that eats up a lot of time.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's things that get discussed like that most people don't have an idea, you know.
It takes, it was taking me this summer a good 2 hours to feed everything.
Yeah.
And that's just here in this yard.
But are you using the dry sugar, or are you using a premix?
No, I was actually mixing it in 55-gallon drum.
Yeah. With a motor? With
a motor, yeah. Well, actually with a sump pump.
Yeah. Well, we got a electric gear reduction motor. We can turn the speed up. But like we go over to buy sugar at the plant. And sure, you can buy sugar for 18, 19 cents. But my son is bringing up more and more time. You know, getting old, everything's going by time now. So you take 6 hours to go get the sugar, 6 hours to get back. And if you have to wait, get loaded down there for an hour, the whole day is shot. Then when you come back with these bags, it takes an hour to load them in the barrels. And then from that point, it takes another 2 hours to mix them up 55-gallon barrels. And then you've got another day gone.
That eats up a lot of time when you don't have a lot of help. It sure does.
Next thing is premix. You buy premix, and then you pump it right out into your mix.
I actually went this fall and got some high fructose corn syrup, the 55 blend. Yeah. And after the goldenrod went off, I open fed some of that. I just left it set right in my stock trailer where it had a cover over it, and they can go in the side slats and get to it.
You cut it first, didn't you?
No, I fed it straight up.
Well,
this was like to build up for the winter, so I don't have to feed them over the winter and stuff.
Well, the stuff that we're buying, it's just like what's in a Carol syrup bottle. It's thick. It's like honey.
Yeah.
And you probably didn't see the video of what we shot out there. They shipped it to us in 3 totes with a cardboard box, big plastic bladder inside, and it shifted when we loaded it from one trailer, and it hit the ground, $1,600 all over the ground, and it made a 2-inch floating lake out there, 50 foot by probably 100 foot. I had 4 inches of bees floating it, and once they get in it, they can't get out.
Right. Yeah.
But we have to cut it. You buy 1 tote, you get 2.5 totes of water put with it, and that's your feed.
I took 6 55-gallon drums of it, and I broke up bunches of pieces of little styrofoam and throwed straw on top of that. And in less than a month, all 6 of those 55-gallon drums were gone. They eat it all.
They'll pull it.
They'll carry it off. It's amazing how quickly they can carry it off. But I have to be careful and make sure that I wait until after the goldenrod flows over on that, because I don't want to accidentally, contaminate somebody's honey that might have backyard hives and they're just trying to do it for the honey.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's not a lot of people around me with bees, though. Just I know of 2 that are probably in flying range of me, and they run my stock too, so I don't have to worry much about.
Well, that's the only thing about open feeding. You're going to feed other bees, but it breaks down to time and money. You got to do, When we are feeding here, we are feeding on the hive top feeders, a gallon on each one. Plus, we put in 3 5-gallon buckets on top of one, like a drinking fountain with a 55-gallon barrel lid under it. And we got the holes around it. We run 15 barrels open feeding plus on top. So if you don't put it to them, they're not building fast enough.
Yeah, and there's a point when you get large enough that you're not going to have time to do much anything else.
Right. Yeah.
It's all a size thing.
Oh yeah, that's, you know, the bigger you get, it seems like the less you're making because you're spending more. You know, you stay to a certain point that you can do yourself. That's the biggest thing when I have students. I don't get a lot done because you're starting from beginning constantly. If you had experienced beekeepers coming in, you can run several hundred hives and move on to the next yard.
Yeah. Well, I see you got some hands up now, so I'll let you get back to it.
Okay, thanks, Jason. All right, over to our man with the name, Big Luscious. Go ahead. Hold on. Oh, wait, you're still muted. There you go. Try it now.
Hi, everybody. Don, I've seen several times where you've talked about, you know, starting a hive, you know, and you always put a, you know, frame of honey in there and foundation and stuff, or foundation and a starter strip.
Mm-hmm.
But let's assume you've got somebody who's starting from blank zero and all they've got is a package of bees. What do you put in that box, or how do you set that box up so they're going to have the best chance of survival?
Well, that's why we run a school here. We'll show how to sit in 50 packages. The first thing we do on the first load is we put in 50 packages into 5 frame boxes with a high top feeder on there. And by the second week, the next load that we get, we take 1 frame and we'll pull 1 or 2 frames out of that first box that we put the package in because they're already building up. Those frames will go in to start new boxes with new foundation, and then a feeder, and then dump a package in that. But once you got 8, 10, or 20 hives, 8 frame hives or 10 frame hives, you can pull 2 or 3 frames or 10 frames out of it and make 10 splits there with a package. There's a lot of ways to build.
I guess my question was, is if you're somebody who's just starting out, this is the first time you've ever had bees, you got 5 packages coming. What do you put in those frames? Do you put just a starter strip? Do you put a full frame of wax or full sheet of wax?
Well, it depends on how fast you want to build. If you want to build as fast as possible, I would recommend a full sheet with a fishing line. If you got a little time and you don't have a lot of money, starter strips. 1 deep gets you 5 strips. There's different ways to look at it, you know.
And if you were having to buy wax to get those starter strips, where would you buy? I mean, is it the same if you go with, you know, Man Lake versus any of the other ones, or is there somebody in particular that you would say to get your wax foundation for those starter strips from?
I have not bought foundation in probably 50 years, but you know, I'm not saying all bee companies are, you know, got bad wax, but if you use common sense, if somebody's had 200 or 300 hives and for some reason they lost their hive, they died, well, they're going to salvage what they can. So they throw them in a big vat and they melt all that wax down. They take it to the bee supply house. They turn it into foundation. You don't have the history of that. You don't know what chemicals is in it. And by using a starter strip on your own wax, you can limit the amount of pesticides that's in your hive. You're never going to eliminate pesticides totally, but you can keep them to a minimum by keeping your wax clean, make a foundation out of cappings, and then changing out foundations or selling nukes. The same thing with people that don't want to treat. If you don't want to treat a hive and you don't want to put pesticides in there, you make a lot of splits. You just keep splitting, splitting, splitting all summer long. So by splitting, you break that mite cycle. That's one way to do it, you know.
So now here's the question, I guess, again, going back to somebody who's just starting out, you've got no resources. Would you suggest them buying nukes versus packages, or would you suggest them buying maybe half nukes, half packages, and pulling, say, a frame out of each of those nukes and giving it to the package?
Well, that would depend on the person with their experience. If you're a new beekeeper and you have no experience, your chances of success with a nuke is far better than a package. A package, you got a box with screen on each side, you dump loose bees into a box. At that point, you hope they're going to stay. For some reason, if they don't like that box, they're going to up and leave. You buy a nuke, you transfer it into your box, and you got a better chance. You've got a queen that's in there laying, you got larvae and brood at different stages, you got honey supply in there, you got honey, pollen. So you basically are a lot better off, and you're going to make honey that year. But if you want to make numbers and gamble, beekeeping is a learning thing. I tell students right out, what do you want to do? You want to learn? Buy packages. You can buy 2 packages for the price of a nuke. So you got twice as many bees out there.
Thank you.
I mean, it's all about learning.
Well, I'm asking the questions.
Yeah, well, that's what we're here for, to try to give you an idea.
Okay, over to Bruce. Go ahead, Bruce.
Can you hear me now?
Yep, we'll hear you.
Don, I've seen on your YouTube and I hear on your bee chats, you keep saying when the queens go out to mate, they come back, they bring a bunch of bees with them.
Right.
And I know that makes sense. My question is, why do they bring back so many bees? Is it just workers and in the yard that they smell the pheromone on the queen and so they follow her back? Because normally they'd be going back to their own beehive.
Well, you got a queen that's a fresh new queen, and you got that pheromones on there, and she flies out, and these bees flying around, they're going to follow, the best smelling queen, I guess. I'm not a queen, I'm not a bee, but they will. I've seen them on 5-frame boxes. I've seen them on minis. They'll fly out, and sometimes they won't even all fit back in the box.
Okay. And what about a salt block in the bee yard? Do you do that? Is that common?
Well, it's a good thing to do, especially if you got people coming to your property to buy bees, because bees in the summertime, people get out of their car and they're sitting in air conditioning, and as soon as they get out, they start sweating, and bees are going to land on them just to get the salt. So if you got a salt block available, they're less likely to land on the customer.
Okay. Very good.
Okay. Over to Chris. Go ahead, Chris. Oh, wait a minute. Cannot mute. There you go.
How's it going?
Okay.
Can you hear me good?
Yep.
All right. Trying something different here on the phone. Anyway, I went through my hives today, and everybody's looking pretty good and everything. And normally I would put like a sugar and newspaper, and I'm kind of concerned now that I haven't done it. They're doing really well, but should I put it in there anyway just to pull the moisture out of the hive, even though I don't really know if they need it?
What do you have? 8 frames, 5 frames, 10 frames?
5, mostly 5s and a few 8s.
What, you lift the back of the box up? They feel fairly heavy?
I actually went into them today. It was 70 degrees and they were doing pretty good. There was like when I was looking through them, there was like one comb that was completely gone both sides, but there was like 2 other ones that were like half gone, but they still have like, and if I'm saying like an 8-frame box, there'd probably be probably 4 frames still have capped, and then the rest of them were kind of like open and they were moving around.
If you got 4 frames of cap, you got more than enough honey in there.
And as far as the 5-frame, the 5-frame had like 1.5, and that's what I was kind of concerned about too.
You can put a newspaper over the frames, or you can drop a cup full in the back. I always just lift the back of the hive up. If you feel weight in there, or you can pop the lid and look at the cluster. You got a cluster in there and you got some weight to the hive, then you're in good shape.
They're doing really well. I've done it just the loose sugar in the back of the hive, and they draw it out the front door unless it's cold. If it's cold, they'll, and they leave it in the hive. I was just, concerned about the moisture in the hive.
Dragging the sugar crystals out the front.
Yeah.
You could put a paper towel in there and set it a cupful on top of the frames. Make it.
That's what I did before.
And the moisture comes up and it gets a little bit tacky, and they're not going to drag it out. They'll come up and eat it.
That sounds good.
Yeah.
That sounds good. I was going to ask you too, I know it's wrong, but why is it wrong that you could put, say like honey into sugar and make like a patty? What's wrong with making sugar into a patty? No water, just the honey into the sugar to make like a patty. My son did it, and it was fun to do. And it's like, yeah, go ahead. And he made it up, and it looked good.
Well, there's nothing really wrong with it. If you're going to feed your bees and it's your honey.
Right. because he did that, and I was like, well, go ahead and put it on there. Let's find out. And they loved it, but I didn't know if it would be wrong, if a ferment or something would be wrong with it.
If the capped, you know,
it was good honey, like normal honey into a bowl with powdered sugar, and just do it enough until it would make like a patty out of it.
The only thing you can't do is you can't take powdered sugar and honey, mix it together, and use it as feed for queens. That is basically for the control of foul brood. But for your own bees, I mean, even a hive, if you got loose honey or extracted honey, you take a honey bear and squeeze it into the cells and stick it up.
I've done that.
Yeah, I mean, that's another way to, emergency feed.
Like I said, I don't really think I have a problem. I was just concerned about that sugar, just the wicking properties of it, just to help the hive out. I didn't want to not put the sugar in there this year and have a problem and like, I should have put sugar in it. Made a fool.
I just make sure you had plenty of ventilation in your hives. That's the biggest thing. People, they don't seem to want to ventilate their hives.
I do.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Thank you, Don.
Okay.
Let's see. Back to Big Al here. Let me get you. It's not unmuting. There we go. Go ahead.
You were just talking about doing classes and stuff, and it just dawned on me. When do you start your classes in the spring, or do you teach all year long?
I'm teaching when the students show up. So basically, I got woodworking and high building stuff. We start doing that a lot in February. And we'll start getting into doing our queens and stuff into the middle of March into April. Okay. We'll probably have at least 3 classes on that. If you're a commercial student, if you want to learn queens, you go back and do queens, you want to learn how to build a box, everybody could probably build a box. My way ain't the only way. I think my way, over the years, I build them more efficiently. I can build myself. If I don't have no interruptions out there, I can build about 40 boxes in 2 hours.
Wow.
Because I got 3 saws. I got a radial arm saw. I set my length. I got a table saw. Plus I got another table saw with put my handles in and my rabbets on. So as long as I got somebody help carry a stack of wood, I can take them from the back building up to the front, rabbit them out. I got air guns. It don't take me 15, 20 seconds to put a box together with an air gun.
Okay. Oh, one other question. You were talking about building nukes and stuff out of Advantech. Yeah. Now, do you only use that for the tops, and then you use your sawmill wood for the sides, right?
You can, if you got Advantech, you can use it for everything. Wood is going to last longer than Advantech, but what I'm trying to get across is economy. If you don't have money to go out and buy good wood or have a sawmill, I'm fortunate enough to have a sawmill. I can cut 10, 12-inch boards all day long.
And the Advantech doesn't have an issue with being rabbited on the end to get that in there?
I've even rabbited 3/4 plywood. It's not a full 3/4 plywood. We used to use what they call sturdy floor. It's tongue and groove flooring. Yep. We rabbit that there out. I mean, you got to be careful with your rabbits, and when you staple, that's your biggest thing.
Okay.
But house paneling, 3/8 paneling, or 3/8 plywood, 1/2-inch plywood, I can use about anything, but I don't like to use 3/8 plywood on lids. If I'm in an emergency situation, I'll do it on a 5-frame or a mini nuke because, there's not that much chance of it warping up. But I've used 1/4-inch paneling or plywood on the bottom of nukes. 1/2-inch. Use what you got. I've used 5/8 boards from the sawmill on the sides because we set the sawmill at 3/4 on scale, and we're sawing out there. We're running one end of that saw to the other in about 8 seconds. So when I drop down on 3/4, sometimes if it's not quite there, it might come off just a little over 5/8. I set that stuff to the side. I use it for the side pieces, and I use full 3/4 on the ends. That way, my rabbits are more consistent as thicknesses.
Right. Okay.
But bees ain't going to complain as long as they're dry. They'll live. They'll do good.
Okay.
Actually,
oops, sorry. Hold on.
I was just going to say, I read an interesting article. I don't know if you saw, you probably have. You seem to see everything. Talking about how Propolis it really helps beehives to be much healthier. And
Right.
they did an experiment where they had rough wood on the inside, they had grooved wood on the inside. They tried a few different things like that, and they said basically the rough cut wood on the inside of a beehive creates the most propolis from most bees, and it has the healthiest hives.
Right.
Just an interesting article. I read that just a week or two ago.
We get new students here, and a lot of times they're bad about taking a hive tool and wanting to scrape the top of the frames and do all that little cleanups and that. It's the best way to decapitate queens and do other stuff, especially if you get a little burr comb on the side of the hive where your frames are not going to fit tied up against the side. The hive is designed whether it's a 10 frame, 8 frame, or 5 frame. If you moved all the frames to one side or the other, a queen cage will fit in that distance. That's what they're designed for. When we get done inspecting, we center them. So you're going to have a little extra comb on the side sometime. And it's the worst thing to do to scrape that off, because that's where a queen will hide. And if you kill a queen, you're just up the creek then. You got to get another cell and put in there.
All right. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Over to Greg. Go ahead, Greg.
Hey, Don, a lot of folks are reaching out now that they've learned that we're running packages and nukes up from your place up through Tennessee and Kentucky. They're reaching out a lot of good questions. And one good question I thought this would be a good place to ask is folks that are currently running large cell or standard cell foundation and hives, what are your thoughts on them running small cell queens with their current equipment? Obviously, going from a large cell into small cell equipment is a little bit tricky, but what are your thoughts on folks? I would assume not everyone is running small cell foundation with your bees.
Well, I have sold a lot of queens to people that are still on old wide comb, the large cell, and I've not heard any problems with it. A lot of times the problems you end up getting is when you buy packages and put them in on small cell and they're large cell bees to start with, and then they don't want to draw it properly. That's where the biggest problem I've seen over the years. But you buy the small cell foundation and put it in there, you shouldn't have no problem. And even if you have large cell and just slip a frame of starter strip in there every once in a while, get them to start going that way.
So folks on 5.4 or standard cell, there's not really much concern with bringing up small cell queens from you or packages.
No, I haven't seen anything. If you're getting your order up, be sure you start getting deposits, because my son said most of March is going to be about booked out here pretty quick. But you probably want yours in April anyhow.
Yeah, probably the mid to end of April.
If you got an idea how many you need, send my son an email and let him know how many you're going to need, because I've told him you're going to probably get a bunch.
Yep, we're looking forward to it. Thanks.
Okay.
Okay. I think, Henry, you have another question?
Sure. First, I'd like to congratulate Pat on her award from the Bee Club. That was cool. And
I haven't seen her tonight. She's hiding, huh? Or she's out.
She's on the second page.
There's another page?
Yeah, we get more than 2 pages full here.
I'm looking at my screen. I only see one page. Hey, let's start learning how to do this stuff.
Baby steps, Don.
I got another question about foundation.
Okay.
On the press versus a mold.
Mm-hmm.
And I know you do all yours in press.
Right.
But the mold is a whole lot cheaper to start with.
Right.
And it's a couple $100 compared to a couple thousand on the differences. What other than I heard that the wax gets brittle. Any other cons to using a mold?
Well, the only thing, there's a German mold out there. It looks like a notebook. There's 2 or 3 Chinese ones coming out, and I think Thorne's got one. The only thing I can say is when you pour that wax, you're going to get a thick sheet of foundation. Now, if you got a lot of wax or you got unlimited amount, might not be a problem for you. But I could take that same sheet and run it on my mill, and I could go 4 sheets, 5 sheets, or just turn the handle or the adjustment, and I can run that same pound of wax 22 sheets to the pound. So it's just a matter of, you know, making more foundation. And if the wax press, if you want cut comb, it's going to be awful chewy. It makes a thick piece. Now, where the cut comb, I run cut comb here on my mill, and that's running like real thin stuff. It's 22 sheets to the pound. You can almost see through it. It's less chewy and it's more desirable. But you know, if it was me and I was debating whether a press or mill and the price was the object, I'd just buy a few sheets and make small starter strips. I've got students that use 3/4. I've got other ones that turn that wedge bar sideways and wax it, rub wax on it. Okay. There's a lot of ways to get around that stuff.
Yeah, what I was thinking about doing was getting the mold to begin with, just to get started, and then buying a press later on. But I think you're right. I think I should just buy some.
Well, there's people that will buy the foundation from you, and if you're going to bee clubs, it's just like if a tree fell down in your yard. What can you do with it? You can cut it up for firewood. But if you got a sawmill, you got slabs for firewood and you got lumber. Now, if you got a wax mill, you can go there and take their wax and charge them so much a sheet to make it or so much a pound to run it. And there's people that buy sheets of foundation to roll candles up.
Right.
So there's a lot of, you know, it's an investment. If you want to make money at it, it's just an investment. Right. I had 2 women buy one about 5 years ago, and they bitched about the price, but they was buying about 10 boxes from Daydent of foundation. And they come back after they bought it. I showed them how to run it. They said they paid for it in 90 days. So it's just what you're looking at.
Yeah, I was just looking at the dollar sign.
Yeah, well,
I wasn't going past that. But yeah, no, you're right. I think the best idea is just go buy the foundation and make starter strips.
Yeah, that's you're going to be your.
So I don't want to put any money into it other than what I make. Everything I make is going to go back into the business.
Well, it's just like, you know, ProVap 110. It's a heap of money to put out there, but you're cutting from 3 minutes or 4 minutes per hive down to 20 seconds. Now, a lot of things people don't think about. There's other beekeepers in the club. You could take that unit and find out how many hives they got, and either go over there and treat them for $5 or $10 per hive, or rent it to them for $50 for the day. I mean, you know, you got lemons, make some lemonade out of it.
I need to come down and see you just to get these marketing tips. Thanks, Don.
Okay.
Okay. If nobody else has any more questions, I don't see any more hands up or anything. Before we stop, I wanted to offer everybody, a lot of people have been staying after the chats for an extra chat. It's wide open, everybody that's here right now. So we can do that, and it will be, you know, no moderation or anything, so everybody can chat about their bees or whatever.
You didn't tell me about that.
It's brand new. We're just kind of getting it started. We've done it a couple times just to see. Some people stick around and shoot the crap. So
you're telling me you're talking about me when I'm not here.
not too bad, no. So thank you, Don. Thank you, everyone. I'm going to stop recording, but if you want to stick around, go ahead.
Okay.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
Merry Christmas.